We are live right now on WCNC Charlotte and streaming on WCNC Plus. We interrupt Charlotte today right now for a WCNC weather impact alert in effect today through tomorrow morning. Live pictures right now over uptown Charlotte as we prepare for wintry weather here in our area. Expecting an update from the governor momentarily at any moment. In the meantime, you can scan that QR code in the corner of your screen to take the forecast with you wherever you go today. Thanks for joining us right now at 11 o'clock. I'm Ben Thompson.
And I'm Caitlin Hagwood. Right now, as we await that update from the governor, I can tell you that he's already declared a state of emergency. The governor declaring that state of emergency just yesterday as we prepare for that winter storm. We're already starting to see some impacts in the mountains. We will take him live as soon as he comes. For now, let's send things over to Larry Sprinkle with a look at that WCNC Charlotte weather impact forecast.
Hey, good morning. We take that view. We've been showing Appalachian states, and they're getting some accumulation up there at the moment. It's been snowing for the past several hours there up in Watauga County on the campus of Appalachian State. And then another winter wonderland view right here from Blowing Rock from our resort cams up there. A lot of snowfall right there in downtown Blowing Rock, covering the grass. And then you can see the streets right there, pretty much clear. But what's going to happen overnight, everything that falls there, especially, is going to be just a sheet of ice. In fact, I think black ice is going to be a major issue all across the entire region, wherever there's any type of precipitation. We're missing a lot of cameras right there. We do have uptown under gray skies. We won't have all of our cameras, but certainly gray skies over most of the area. Temperature-wise, 28 at Boone, 36 at Lincoln, and 38 at Charlotte, and 41 at Lancaster in South Carolina. So we got a couple spots in the 40s. We scan the skies. Looking back to the southwest along Interstate 85, from, say, Spartanburg to Greenville down to Atlanta, Georgia. Interesting in getting, so that's all just a cold rain there around Greenville, Spartanburg. Just north of there, you got kind of a mix of some icy precipitation, sleet and freezing rain. And then from Spartanburg all the way up Interstate 85 into North Carolina, that is nothing but some light snow showers. Temperature-wise, we'll take a futurecast. Notice across the Charlotte metro area, we're in the mid-30s around the region this morning, staying in the upper 20s in the high country. As we get to early this afternoon, I would say between about noon, 2 o'clock, with temperatures hovering around 32 to 34 degrees, some snow showers within the area. Snow continues to fall in the mountains. The system should be gone and out of here by about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Once again, temperatures for the most part stay right around the freezing mark in the Charlotte metro area as we head into the afternoon, and then overnight they drop into the mid-20s with that band of snow showers tomorrow morning between about 7 and 9. We keep talking about this, but I think not much more than an inch of snow for the Charlotte metro area. The impact that we're going to see is black ice. So whatever falls, whether that be snow, maybe some sleet, some areas getting freezing rain south of here, that's just going to be a glaze of ice tomorrow morning. And not looking at the potential for any power outages because the main threat in the eastern part of North Carolina is going to be possibly an ice storm over there. So that would be the power outage situation. Our hour-by-hour forecast, we stay in the 30s all day today. Between about 1 and 3, we do see the opportunity for some snow showers, and notice those temperatures stay in the 30s. We get all the way till about 11 o'clock tonight, about 30 degrees at 11 p.m. And then for tomorrow, it's tomorrow morning where weather alert between about 7 and 9 with those temperatures in the upper 20s, so right around 30 degrees. And actually tomorrow afternoon, it's going to stay cold, but we'll actually see some peaks of sunshine between about 3 and 5 tomorrow afternoon. What about beyond that? What about the impacts that we're going to see later on? Brittany Van Voorhees is joining us this morning with the latest on that situation. What can we expect, Brittany?
Well, I'm expecting to be happy when it's in the upper 30s and there's sunshine tomorrow, which is something I typically would never think I would say. But if you were in the Charlotte area, I think the number one thing we can kind of hone in on, Larry, is the fact that this is a low impact event. We were never expecting to see snow in the Queen City this morning. It is mainly, as you mentioned a few times, the afternoon, and really the biggest impacts over toward eastern North Carolina. So moderate to low over there, low for everybody else. So again, it's not a huge impact, but we are still going to be watching those areas, especially this afternoon once the sun goes down and into tomorrow morning. Right now, we are starting to see some of that moisture creeping into the Charlotte area. You can kind of see it on satellite and radar. In a lot of those areas, if you have the WCNC Charlotte mobile app, you might see that radar thinks it's snowing. There is snow falling from the clouds, but it does take a little bit of time oftentimes for our air to be moist enough for that to reach the ground, especially in these situations where we kind of have a dry slot over us. I'll show you why in just a second. Here's a closer look. We are getting a little bit of that freezing rain mixing in for areas east of us toward Fayetteville, and that will eventually move north toward the Raleigh-Durham area. So I wouldn't suggest traveling no matter where you're going in and out after sunset tonight into early tomorrow morning. So past noon tomorrow should be a little bit better, and that's when our winter weather advisory does officially cancel. So why are we in a dry slot? We're actually, this low pressure system over the Gulf is actually taking away some of our moisture. You can actually see it's raining all across Georgia, but very little precipitation for most of South Carolina and into the parts of North Carolina. What we are going to be watching later on today and into tomorrow is not necessarily this Gulf system, but this low pressure system that's just off the coast of the Carolinas. Now, but depending on where this sets up, if it is a little bit closer to us, what happens is the counterclockwise rotation will shift some of that moisture toward us. If it's further away, we'll get less and less. So accumulations have always been expected to be low, but this will have an implication for especially tomorrow morning, and you can kind of see that rotation right now that we're watching. So this afternoon, mid-30s is the temperature. We see that moisture reaching the ground. It is going to stick in a few spots, but notice temperature is still above 32, which means not a lot of significant accumulation, even if it's actively snowing. We're done by about 8 o'clock this evening, and then tomorrow morning, as Larry's been mentioning it a few times, especially this morning starting at 4:30, we're in the upper 20s, and that's why the black ice is a big concern. However, if that moisture, we're going to send it over to Ben and Kaylin for a press conference. We'll have more weather, of course, coming up.
That's right. The governor's stepping up to update us. Let's take a listen.
It's already started here in Raleigh at the Emergency Operations Center. Snow began in the mountains earlier this morning and will continue moving eastward throughout the afternoon and evening. Central North Carolina will continue to see a mix of rain, sleet, and snow. The heaviest snow is expected in northeastern North Carolina throughout tonight. Depending on where you are in the state, the storm will certainly disrupt your daily life. Some of you may even have your kids at home with you watching this briefing instead of at school where they normally would be. And while we cannot stop this storm, we can and will respond to it as best we can. Yesterday, I declared a state of emergency across North Carolina, which activated our cross-agency state emergency response team. That team includes the Department of Transportation, the Department of Public Safety, the North Carolina National Guard, the State Highway Patrol, and our state's utilities. Here's what we've activated so far. More than 1,500 crew members with the North Carolina Department of Transportation have been pre-treating roads across the state and spreading 3.1 million gallons of brine. As the storm makes its way across the state, NCDOT is shifting crews to remove snow and ice. There are over 1,400 DOT and contractor trucks ready to clear roads. More than 180 National Guardsmen and 39 force packages have been activated and dispersed to support local emergency response efforts. Our state's power utilities are pre-positioned to quickly restore electricity if it goes out. Many communities have opened warming stations for those who need refuge from cold temperatures. And you can get that information if there's one in your county on your county's website. The State Highway Patrol has spent the past 24 hours clearing our highways of 273 abandoned cars on road shoulders to make them safer for travel and plowing. Please know that we are using every tool at our disposal to minimize the impact of this storm on you and your family. In a moment, you will hear from Emergency Management Director Will Ray about the winter storm and our emergency response operations, and from Secretary Joey Hopkins about NCDOT's work to keep our roads as safe as possible. At this point, our greatest concerns remain power outages and road safety. Please keep your devices, your phones, charged. Have a flashlight on hand. And as you'll hear from both Director Ray and Secretary Hopkins reiterate, it will be unsafe to travel in many parts of North Carolina, so please avoid driving unless it's necessary. This morning, in addition to Director Ray and Secretary of Transportation Hopkins, I'm also joined by Secretary of Public Safety Eddie Buffalo, Chief of Staff to the North Carolina National Guard Colonel Ed Wallace, and Commander of the State Highway Patrol Colonel Freddie Johnson. Erica Kugler and Jackie Metavier are our Spanish language interpreters, and our American Sign Language interpreters are Karen Magoon and Stephen Holland. I'll now turn it over to Emergency Management Director Will Ray to provide additional updates.
Thank you, Governor, and good morning. While we have seen fluctuations in the forecast over the past 24 hours, most of our state will see wintry weather conditions today through tomorrow. 1 to 2 inches of snow accumulation is expected across much of the state, with 2 to 4 inches of accumulation expected in our northern counties along the Virginia border. The highest snow accumulations are forecast across the northeastern counties, where 6 to 8 inches are possible and up to 10 inches locally. There will be bitterly cold temperatures across the state tonight, with gusty winds making the wind chill values in the teens. Unfortunately, the threat of ice accumulation has remained, particularly along the US 70 corridor in areas near Goldsboro, Greenville, Williamston, and New Bern. These areas can see 1/4 to 1/2 inch of ice accumulation. As a reminder, ice accumulations of around 1/4 inch and greater will cause tree branches to snap and can lead to more power outages. If your power goes out during this storm, please ensure that generators are operated outside and away from open windows to prevent carbon monoxide poisoning. Never burn charcoal indoors or use a gas grill indoors. Properly vent kerosene heaters and make sure that all heaters have at least 3 feet of space around them. Use battery-powered sources of light instead of candles to, again, reduce fire risk. And make sure that you have plenty of warm blankets and clothing available. As I stated yesterday, hazardous travel conditions are expected today over the next several days. We ask that all North Carolinians continue to monitor the weather and stay off the roads if possible. Unnecessary travel not only puts you at risk, but also the public safety personnel, power crews, and DOT workers that will need to respond if there is an issue. The State Emergency Response Team remains activated and ready to support our local communities across the state. Elements of the North Carolina National Guard with more than 180 guardsmen and vehicles have been pre-positioned as of this morning across North Carolina to assist local first responders and the Department of Transportation as needed. Currently, there are 49 local emergency operations centers monitoring are open, and 96 of our school districts are closed or operating on remote learning schedules today. Local states of emergency or other local preparatory actions may increase over the course of the day and evening in the impacted communities, so please make sure that you are following all directives or instructions from your local public safety agencies. Thank you to the State Emergency Response Team partners for the tireless work over the last several days preparing North Carolina for the potential impacts. If you need information on power outages, roadway conditions, or how you and your family can be best prepared, please visit readync.gov. Remember, please only dial 911 for emergencies. Make sure your cell phone is charged and conserve battery power. You can do this by dimming the brightness of your display and disabling non-essential applications. To reduce any strain on cell service in your area, especially in areas that experience power outages, try texting to reduce that network congestion. If you lose power at your home, do not use your vehicle to charge devices inside your garage. Carbon monoxide is colorless and odorless and can be deadly. I would like to again note that the FEMA disaster recovery centers are closed today in Western North Carolina due to the weather, but disaster survivors in Western North Carolina can still reach FEMA and access services by calling 1-800-621-3362. Additionally, as we said yesterday, you can contact the North Carolina Disaster Case Management Program at 1-844-746-2326 or visit ncdps.gov/Helene. The North Carolina Disaster Case Management Program was established to help guide survivors through the recovery process, to assist with making a recovery plan to fit individual survivor needs, and to find resources to bridge any gap that a survivor may be experiencing. Finally, as we move through today and into tomorrow, please remember to check on your friends, family members, neighbors, or those in your community who may need additional support. We are stronger and more resilient together. I'll now turn it over to Secretary Hopkins for his update.
Thank you, Director Ray. Good morning. Like the governor said, the winter storm has arrived in parts of our state, and we expect it will make travel treacherous across much of North Carolina throughout today, tomorrow, and even into Friday. By the end of today, we expect many routes to be covered with snow and ice in western, central, and parts of northeastern North Carolina. So please limit unnecessary travel. This will allow our crews, law enforcement, utility workers, and other public safety officials to do their work. After pre-treating hundreds of miles of highways with more than 3.1 million gallons of brine through the end of last night, our crews are now transitioning their focus and their equipment to clear roads as the storm moves across the state today. Again, as Governor Stein mentioned, we have more than 1,200 crew members already clearing roads or standing by ready to do so when the storm hits their area. And there are more than 1,400 DOT and contractor trucks available for this storm. We have more than 133,000 tons of salt on hand ready to treat ice-covered roads. Our crews will be working around the clock over the coming days and will not stop until roads are cleared. This does include crews who are or will be out cutting and removing fallen trees and debris as necessary from roads, and also working with our utility partners in spots that involve down power lines. Most of the state is forecast to receive some combination of snow, ice, or freezing rain. While we will do our best to clear roads as quickly as possible during this event, it will take time with an event like this and as cold as it is and will be. As always, we are prioritizing clearing interstates and then U.S. and NC routes, followed by secondary roads. Please watch out for trouble spots that may refreeze due to low temperatures tonight. This will be especially true in shaded areas as well as on bridges and overpasses. For drivers, these areas can be very unpredictable, and most of the time you aren't aware of them until it's too late. As conditions improve, please check drivenc.gov for the latest travel information. We ask that you please stay home if you can and stay safe. Thank you, and I'll turn it back over to Governor Stein.
Thank you, Director Ray and Secretary Hopkins, for the work that you and your teams are doing to keep North Carolinians safe. That is our #1 priority. I also want to say a quick thank you to the men and women of the Asheville, Charlotte, Winston-Salem, and New Hanover County fire departments for answering the call to help our neighbors in Kentucky. Our swift water rescue teams continue to operate there, where in addition to flooding, communities receive snow overnight. They've had more than 250 interactions with impacted residents as they've searched structures and provided support to local law enforcement. As winter weather continues throughout today, we recommend the following actions from each of you. Pay close attention to your local weather and enable emergency alerts on your cell phones so you can receive updates from local emergency management and the National Weather Service. Keep cabinet doors open for pipes located under sinks so they don't freeze, and let your faucets drip to prevent freezing. In snowy and icy areas, please just stay off the roads if you can at all help it. If you have to be on the road, store an emergency kit in your vehicle. If your power goes out today or overnight, keep these safety tips in mind. Only operate generators outside, away from open windows and doors so that you do not get carbon monoxide poisoning. Never burn charcoal or use gas grill indoors. To reduce the risk of fire, use battery-powered sources of light, not candles. Over the next 24 hours, think about who in your life might be most vulnerable to this weather, whether it's a family member, a friend, or a neighbor. Please check up on them, make sure that they're prepared as well. Taking care of each other, that's what North Carolinians do. Thank you. I'll now open the floor to questions to folks here in the room and then folks on the phone. Any questions?
Good morning, Governor.
Good morning.
With this system kind of being broken up in this form or fashion, is there any change to the strategy and how NCDOT is going to be approaching and treating the roads? Is there going to be kind of waiting until it all passes through tomorrow, or once there is a break today, will work be done to try and clear roads as quickly as possible?
Secretary Hopkins.
No, great question with the changing weather, but no, it does not change our approach. I mean, our crews have been out since Sunday night pre-treating roads all across the state, and now depending on where you are geographically and how much precipitation you're getting, they will start pushing snow or the snow and ice and sleet off the roads as it accumulates.
As a follow-up, is there any change in strategy in terms of the staffing or conservation of resources in terms of ensuring that you're able to kind of work over the next several days to clear any roadways throughout the state?
So initially during the beginning of the storm, we'll use our local forces and our contract forces to do as needed, depending on what happens locally, but then we may supplement from other parts of the state, like the day after the storm or the next day after the storm if needed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Hopkins. If there's a question over the phone, please press 1 to ask.
There are no questions.
Thank you all for being here.
All right, 11:20 right now, and you've been listening to the governor and other state officials in Raleigh debrief the public about plans in terms of this winter storm we're seeing across the state of North Carolina. In fact, the governor says that they're already seeing snow there in the Raleigh area. Much of us here in the Charlotte area have yet to see that snow, but it is anticipated. Thanks for staying with us here. I'm Ben Thompson. We are going to have a look at your forecast coming up in just 30 seconds, but there is some other breaking news we're following that you got to get an update on right now out of Kannapolis. 2 people killed in a shooting outside the Cabarrus Department of Social Services this morning. Kannapolis police say they got a call that someone was firing a gun in the parking lot around 8:30 this morning. And when they got there, they found 2 people shot and killed. We're told the suspect then took off. Police say he was eventually pulled over about 30 minutes away from there in the community of Rockwell. At that point, we're told he shot and killed himself. Police say this was a domestic situation. The victims knew each other. But still, all of this unfolding in what is a big parking lot in a busy part of town there at Kannapolis at the corner of Cannon and Dale Earnhardt Boulevard. That office, the DSS office, will be closed today. We do have a reporter there on scene talking to investigators, collecting more important information. We will check in with her later on right here on WCNC Charlotte. In the meantime, let's go ahead and turn it over to a look on that forecast. Your weather impact forecast right now as we speak. North Carolina under a state of emergency. A WCNC weather impact alert in effect for today through tomorrow morning. Expecting snow, ice, and sleet. Several schools already closing or going remote ahead of the storm. Larry Sprinkle has been tracking this system over the last 24 hours. So, Larry, bring us up to speed. What do we know right now? Is this unfolding as we anticipated?
One thing that is unfolding, the cold air is certainly in place across the 2-state area, and then obviously we've had the snow in the North Carolina mountains. In fact, in the mountains right now, 29 at Boone over at Hickory and Catawba County, checking at 37 degrees there. In Lincoln at 35, 38 here in the Queen City. We do have Lancaster at 41 degrees. That's actually the mildest temperature across the region. Everybody else will stay in the mid to upper 30s throughout the day today. As we take a look and show you those low temperatures overnight, it's going to be bitterly cold in the mountains. Lows drop to about 16 degrees at both Boone and Jefferson. Everybody else, every single spot on the map will be in the mid and upper 20s overnight. So hard freeze overnight. So that means anything that falls, regardless of what type of precipitation, will be a sheet of ice across the area tomorrow morning. Now, obviously, the Department of Transportation has done a great job making sure the brine is spread all over the area, even secondary roads, even neighborhoods. But the impacts could still be some major issues out there. Not expecting one. We've been talking about this. Not expecting a lot of snow in the Charlotte area. We're talking about maybe a trace 1 inch at the most north of here. The main impact will be the black ice that's overnight, early tomorrow morning, and not expecting any major storm system to affect the power here. That'll all be in the eastern part of the state, over in the eastern part of North Carolina, the coastal plain areas. We take a look at the radar at the moment. Notice across the Charlotte area, everything's north of here, as it has been all morning. We are starting to see back to the west and southwest a band of some rain, and then right there in that northwestern corner of South Carolina, it's a mix of sleet, freezing rain, and snow. The rest is just some cold rain, and then just south of Charlotte, kind of an icy mix there. Speaking of an icy mix, once you get over towards the Sandhills, all the way to the coastal plain of North Carolina, that's some icy weather over there. And then from Raleigh north, that is all snowfall in that area. As we scan the skies here, most is not even reaching the ground yet, but certainly above us, some snow showers all the way from Hickory over towards areas around Asheboro, and then you get into north of Charlotte along Interstate 77 northbound. Once you get into South Carolina, down around Rock Hill and Lancaster, that's some very light rainfall there. So that's some of that rain that we're talking about potentially here in the area that we could see kind of a rain-snow mix. That's certainly happening. Speaking of rain, a little bit heavier rainfall once you go down Interstate 85. So if you have travel plans headed anywhere from, say, Greenville, Spartanburg down towards Atlanta, you'll encounter some just cold rain there. And then just beyond that, along Interstate 85 near Spartanburg, snow showers there. You get into Rutherford County, kind of a mix of some snow and rain in that area. We've got to zoom in and show you north of here, up Interstate 77, up Interstate 85. Up above us, yes, you'll see some snow showers out there. And we look at this potential, all those computer models pretty much indicating not much more than an inch at the very most. In fact, most saying far less than that. And that really would be over the next 24 hours, the snowfall potential across the area. Take a look at Futurecast. Cold weather stays in place all day today. Not much above the mid to upper 30s for high temperatures. Would take you to any time between about 2, I would say 1, maybe about 11:30 to 2 o'clock. Light snow showers here. That system is gone pretty quickly and out of here. So we have several hours. In fact, overnight, it's not until early tomorrow morning, we get to about 7 a.m. we start to see some light snow showers tracking across here. This is tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. This is when we may see a little bit of accumulation with those temperatures dropping into the mid-20s overnight. So something that we're going to make you weather aware about that. For today, all the temperatures every hour is staying in the 30s. As we get towards later this evening, you can see those temperatures drop to the low 30s by about 9 o'clock. So we see that chance of some snow showers into the early part of the afternoon. And then tomorrow, whole different situation. It's going to be cold, but we only have a couple hours there. We're weather alert. That's tomorrow morning between about 7 and 9. And by tomorrow afternoon, we may see a little bit of sunshine, but still those temperatures in the mid to upper 30s. A lot of impacts from this. Brittany Van Voorhees joins us right now. You know, it's a kind of a complicated setup that we've had with this particular weather system. Let's get the latest on that, Brittany. Good morning.
Yeah, it has been so complicated, Larry, especially because right now we're in that dry slot. I did want to tell folks that we are getting a few official reports, not only from emergency management, but even just pictures and videos coming in. Getting snow in Catawba County now. That has been a while that we've seen snow on radar, but really the atmosphere had to moisten up a little bit. Boiling Springs seeing some snow, but so far nothing is accumulating up in Burke County there near Marion. And of course, we've seen some pictures and videos from Lenore as well as portions of the mountains. As always, send us your pictures and videos. We would love to show them on air, on streaming, WCNC Plus. It's also a great tool that we can give to the National Weather Service to help them with snowfall reports. Live look here across the board. You can see the latest winter weather impacts still much higher as across eastern portions of North Carolina, which of course was expected. Limited for most of the Charlotte area. Again, expected. You can see a few spots in the mountains in that low risk. This is overall a low impact event. Our team has been saying that for multiple days. I know Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich was really honing that in just yesterday. Here's again a look at satellite and radar, what Larry was showing you a second ago, a little closer to home. But what I do want you to point out here as we take a wider view is all of this moisture streaming in south of us. Notice most of South Carolina is mostly dry now. That's because the low over the Gulf is actually kind of stealing some of our moisture right now. What we'll be watching heading into tomorrow morning is whether or not the low off the coast brings us a second burst, as Larry mentioned, between about 7 and 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, bringing in that additional moisture. If it's further away, that would mean almost nothing. If it was closer, that would mean a little bit more. So accumulation still expected to be very low. Here's a look at this afternoon in the mid 30s. Again, overnight is that black ice risk. And then into tomorrow morning, when we look at that second burst, we will be looking at that specifically because of that second burst coming in and bringing us some of that accumulation. So just to wrap it up here, once again, what's that weather impact? Well, today, snow showers mixed with a little bit of sleet, freezing rain. Good news, no freezing rain expected for us here in the Charlotte area, mixing in with some of that sleet and snow and cold rain. Black ice forms overnight, though, because of that refreeze potential. Ice risk will be a lot higher for eastern North Carolina. And last but certainly not least, we look at snow showers heading into tomorrow morning. I can tell you, Ben, though, the rest of the week, heading into the weekend, all looks better, and we get warmer almost every single day.
It just gets through the next 24 hours. All right, Brittany, thanks. We're tracking some delays and cancellations over at Charlotte Douglas at this hour. Right now, more than 200 cancellations, but we can expect those numbers to climb throughout the day. WCNC Charlotte's Austin Walker now live there at the airport. Austin, worth warning people that just because they look out their window here and everything's okay.